Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin is going to hell and we need to take urgent measures right now.
Urgent, my ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin is going to shit and I warned you because the leaky.
Hey, what the hell are you doing? Move, come on. Man, these guys are so annoying. Jeez. Bitcoin is dropping today. We're about to break through a very important support level, so pay close attention to today's video. We're going to talk about liquidations and key macro data coming out tomorrow. So without further delay, I think it's time to get started, and we'll jump right into the economic calendar. On the economic calendar, we haven't had any important news today, but starting tomorrow, we do have some very, very relevant things coming up. For example, inflation in the European Union, which is somewhat important to keep in mind to see if it stays at 2%. Oil inventory, which doesn't matter much to us, and the important thing will be the FOMC meeting minutes, where they'll give us some hints about whether they expect to lower interest rates in September or not. So pay close attention to this data. It's at 8 o'clock at night, Spanish time. We'll talk about it in more detail tomorrow so you can see it. Okay? So let's move straight to trading different. How is trading different doing right now? Well, you already know that we had some major liquidations around the $114,300 area. They have been completely liquidated, and right now we're on the verge of the $112,000 support zone. $112,000 is the key area that Bitcoin needs to hold on the daily chart. But be careful, okay? And be really careful with this, because if we break below the $112,000 zone, things could get complicated for Bitcoin. And why do I say things could get complicated? Because I want you to see what we have back here. This area down here, okay? In the zone between $107,000 and $106,500, it's extremely important. There's a huge liquidation zone, it's been a long time since we've seen such a big area like this. So you already know that these zones usually act like a magnet, mainly for the price, and the price could easily drop down to this area here. Obviously, only if we break below $112,000. As long as we stay above $112,000, this area is ruled out. But it's getting bigger and bigger because a lot of people have been opening locks lately. So be careful, because if we lose $112,000, they would clearly turn bearish and we could expect another $6,000 drop, which, as you know, is pretty significant for the price. Obviously, there are also liquidations at all-time highs in the area from $128,000 up to $130,000. These are also important zones, but not as important as the ones at $106,000. So be careful and keep these liquidation zones in mind. And well, we don't want to see them. We don't want to see Bitcoin go there because it would take a long time to recover. Let's go straight to today's Bitcoin analysis. How is Bitcoin doing? Well, overnight it took another hit, just like we were told earlier, right? Took another hit. We're clearly seeing that every time Bitcoin bounces, it falls again. It bounces, falls again, bounces, falls again, and each time the highs and the lows are lower. Clearly, on the 1-hour chart, Bitcoin is or is in a downtrend. Clearly, on the 4-hour chart, Bitcoin is in a downtrend, and on the daily chart, as I said, for Bitcoin to be in a downtrend, we need to break the support, the extremely important support at 112,000, the area of the May highs, the support area from early August, and the area that would act as support if we end up touching it today or in the coming weeks, right? So if we were to break through this area, basically Bitcoin, as I said, the area around 106,500, we really don't want to see that much of a drop, since the altcoins would suffer a lot. This could have a big impact on the price. In any case, on the daily chart, how is Bitcoin looking right now? Well, it's clearly bearish. We're clearly about to touch the support zone. At least, and until proven otherwise, touching the support zone isn't a bad thing, I repeat. Okay? It's not time to be afraid just yet. Obviously, if this level is broken, then fear does make sense, but right now, just so you see, we're simply on the daily chart and, at least for now, ranging between the 123,000 and 113,000 area. Basically, we're just ranging. So, right now, what makes the most sense to do in this case is to look for trades, for example, going long, right? Just in case, if Bitcoin ends up breaking below 112,000, you set a stop loss at 111,500, 111,300, basically so it takes you out with minimal losses. But if Bitcoin doesn't break the support and manages to recover to all-time highs, you basically make more than 4 times what you would have lost if the trade had gone against you. A really good trade with a risk-reward ratio of 4.14. It starts to make sense to look for longs in this area, and that's the way it is. That's what you need to understand, okay? That it's worth looking for longs, that we're still within the support, and that absolutely nothing has changed yet on the daily chart. Is there a chance we could drop to 106? Yes. Is that possibility increasing? Yes, but it's still not over 50%. So let's keep that very much in mind, okay? That said, let's move on to the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. What does the 4-hour chart look like right now? Well, you can also see that we're starting to form a bottom. Look, the RSI is going up while the price is going down. There's clearly a bullish divergence. The MACD also shows a bullish divergence. Bitcoin is going down, but it's not dropping with overwhelming force, it's just going down little by little. And you can clearly see it in the MACD, we don't have a lot of strength. Yes, we're getting a little more momentum, then we lose it a bit, then we lose it again, but it's not like there's a ton of strength. And right now, the MACD is even at levels where it usually tends to bounce. So look, it usually hits this area and bounces, 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 okay? Clearly, on the 4-hour chart, we are in a spot, again, a support level, because we're above 112, clearly oversold with divergences in the RSI and the MACD, and with the MACD at points where it usually bounces. So everything points to the same thing. We shouldn't break below 112, at least for now. That means what we should expect here is that at this point we get a bit of a bounce up to the 116 area, maybe even 117. From there, the 4-hour MACD will have reset, and we'll be ready for the next move. The next move, which could be either up or down, right? You know that in the end, well, above all, what's important to keep in mind with all this is it likely that Bitcoin will break the main support that's been holding us up since July 2025? Honestly, I find it unlikely unless some macro data comes out or there's some global news that could really affect the price. Okay? So just so you understand a bit of all this I'm telling you for now, everything points to the same thing, which is that we should be forming a bottom and that we should have a few days of sideways movement or a slight rise so the price can take a breather before, well, even if it then continues to fall. But this is what's expected, right? 1-hour Bitcoin chart, you can see what I mentioned before, right? Every time we get a rise, it's just to keep falling. A rise and we keep falling. A rise and we keep falling. A rise and we keep falling. And that's how it is until proven otherwise. For now, what we're waiting for is, because of these bullish divergences, because of this oversold condition and so on, to have a new rise. A new rise, most likely just to keep falling again. Okay? Because obviously, until we break this trend line, for example, that we have here, until we break this kind of trend line and get past the $116,500 area, until we get above this zone, Bitcoin is clearly bearish on the 1-hour chart. Clearly, Bitcoin is going to keep falling, or at least it should keep falling. So, keep all of this in mind, everything I'm telling you. For now, I repeat, we are at the support level. For now, I repeat, in the short term, there should be some bounces, but that doesn't mean we won't keep falling afterward, because like I said, lately I'm becoming a bit more bearish on Bitcoin since this doesn't look as good as it did a week ago. Let's be clear, okay? So, having analyzed Bitcoin a bit, let's take a look at some of the altcoins that are also at interesting points today. So let's move on to the altcoin analysis. We have, for example, Ether. Ether, if you look here, okay, is still within this channel. We drew this channel, I think, yesterday. And notice, right? Every time we have a downward channel, this kind of channel usually ends up breaking to the upside. Okay? And on top of that, it's a channel that comes after a big rally, which means it's a bull flag. And in any case, the day we break out of this channel, which still has a ways to go, in fact, we're currently at the support level, the day we break out of this channel, Ether should go up at least to the $5,000 area. We're talking about, okay, a move up to 5,000. We're talking about, from the current price, a 20% increase. So, could this Ether channel actually end up breaking downward? Well, it could, but there are several things to keep in mind. First of all, not only are we at an important support level, which is the bottom of the channel, but also, look here, there's an old floor around the $4,100 area. So it's likely that Ether will find a bottom in this area. It's likely that Ether will start to bounce, and as I said, it's likely that Ether will see rebounds up to 4,220, maybe even 4,250. And from there, we'll see what happens, okay? I think that sooner rather than later, in this case, Ether should recover, and when Ether rises above $4,400, we'll start the next bullish move up to 5,000. Not for now, but right now what we're clearly seeing here is the same thing we've discussed with Bitcoin. It's a clear opportunity to look for a long position with a first target at the lower part of the channel and a second target around the 5,000 zone. Check out the risk-reward ratio of this kind of trade. A risk-reward ratio of 8 to 18. I mean, these are really significant and interesting opportunities in the price, in this case for Ether, okay? That said, for example, another coin, Link, is down 7% today. I'm not going to comment much because it's normal for it to drop 7% after all the gains it's had. And a lot of coins, for example, Radium, if you look here, have also had major corrections in price from all-time highs. Well, from the highs we saw just over a week ago, it's dropped 23%. As you already know, a drop of 15 to 20% is a good opportunity to start accumulating some of these coins. HBAR is also pretty much at its August lows. It's also, well, closer to the support than to the resistance. All these coins are at a good point right now to start or keep accumulating a bit because obviously, and this is important, if Bitcoin loses the 112 level and drops to 106, these coins are going to keep falling, okay? But honestly, there's a good chance it won't break below 112. So the best thing you can do in these situations is actually pretty straightforward. It's, okay, I want to accumulate these coins. I'm going to accumulate a bit now, half of it, for example, because we're at the support level, of course, and the other half I'll accumulate if Bitcoin drops to 106, 107,000. So you'll end up with an average price, say, between 113 and 106, for example, somewhere around 110,000, right? That would be your average purchase point. So you'll have a pretty interesting average point in a lot of the altcoins. At the very least, you'll be buying Radium 23% cheaper than a week ago, and at best, maybe 30% cheaper, even 35%. So it's about buying, accumulating, or averaging out some of your trades bit by bit. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing too. Okay? Today, I'm not going to show you any trades because I haven't been trading, so I think we'll wrap up the video here. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Bitcoin will end up breaking through 112,000 or not? I'd love to hear your opinions. These liquidations we've seen worry me a little, but well, we'll see what happens in the next few hours. I think we're going to get quite a few answers in the next 48 hours. So that's it, I'll leave the video here. I hope you liked it and I'll see you tomorrow with more. See you soon.